everyone, I'm Regine.
And I'm Kayla.
Thank you for joining us on Real Talk.
New episodes are available every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m.
On our podcast, we offer our opinions and advice on various situations and questions from our listeners.
You can submit your questions or scenarios through Spotify, or if you're not using Spotify, email us at talktorealtalk@gmail.com.
You can choose to remain anonymous if you would like.
With that said, let's get started with today's episode.
Okay, getting into question number 1. I'm dealing with a friend who constantly cancels plans last minute. I'm not sure if I should confront them or just stop making plans altogether.
First off, I would like to say it depends on the kind of friend you're talking to or dealing with. If it's just an acquaintance, you might not be so prone to confront them about it. So in that sense, you may want to kind of dial back a little bit. Maybe ask them how they're doing, but not necessarily go ahead and like, oh, what's going on? But if it's a close friend, I would definitely check up on them, ask them how are they doing. I would start off that way instead of coming a little bit aggressive, like,
Right.
just so they're prone to tell you, okay, well, that's maybe they just so happen to tell you, oh, I've been feeling like this, or I'm going through this, a lot of this, that, and you can go from there. Because usually it's not necessarily about you, it's about what they're going through. And so you don't want to make it all about yourself and then make them not necessarily want to, they might close down as a person.
Yeah. Okay, so same thing. I feel the same way. It depends on what kind of friend it is. So, like, if it's just an acquaintance or a coworker or whatever, I would say it'll be okay to stop asking because, maybe they have some of their own close friends and they're spending more time with them, or you might not just be that high up on their list and everything. So, I would say it's okay to just stop asking if it's just like someone who's not really your friend, or wait until they make some plans or whatever. But if it's your good friend, like Kayla said, definitely try to ask what's going on and go about it in a way to where they don't feel like they're being attacked or interrogated or anything. Just be like, hey, I've noticed that you haven't gone out, like maybe if you guys go out for dinner every Friday or something, like, oh, I've noticed you've been canceling on Friday. Is everything all right? Are you feeling okay? Something like that. And then it could be maybe they don't want to be out, because I know sometimes I don't want to go out, so you can find some alternatives. You can do something inside or do something that's not going to be as public. So it could be that they just don't want to be around a lot of people.
Moving on to number 2, I'm considering quitting my job to pursue my passion, but I'm worried about financial implications and what my family and friends will think. I'm not sure if I should take the risk or play it safe and stay in my current job.
So I would definitely say not to quit your job until you get a little bit more into your passion, until your passion is dependable, because you don't want to lose that stable income. So like if you're getting paid every other week, you want to make sure that you continue getting that money. And also that'll take pressure off. Let's say if your passion is doing hair or something, you won't feel like you have to do a whole bunch of different heads, because you know that you're going to have to make up for the money that you're losing out. And maybe if you're doing too many people in one day, you might not do as good of a job as you would have if you had half the amount of clients coming in. So you definitely want to balance them in the meantime. And if it is something like doing hair and you're already making money, but you're not making enough to depend solely on it, you can just see if your job will let you take off a day. Like if you're working 5 days, maybe go down to 4 days or 3 days, and then you can pick up more time with doing your hair if that's something that you're doing, until you can save up enough and get rid of the job totally, but in the meantime, definitely just balance them because you want to make sure that you have some dependable money coming in. And like I said, you don't want to stress yourself out with having to replace that money. And the rule is always you want to have 6 months worth of income saved up. So if anything happens, so let's say if you are doing hair, I'll just keep using that as the example. Um, let's say if something like when COVID had started, how you weren't able to have a lot of people around and everything. So let's say if you had to go down to doing only a couple people a day, you want to make sure that you have money to supplement that. And anything else, you can become sick and maybe you'll be out of work for a little bit, or there's a family emergency, anything. So you always want to make sure that you have some money saved up. And especially in that case, what if you just aren't having a lot of clients at the time? So you want to make sure that if anything happens, you have your money saved up. And then also about worrying about what your family and your friends think. Don't worry about what they're going to think, because at the end of the day, it's your life and it's your money. And if you listen to what they're saying, and let's say it's 20 years down the line and you stayed at your job and you quit pursuing your passion, you'll just think back like, man, I should have just done it, should have went through with it, I shouldn't have been worried about what they were thinking, because at the end of the day, it's going to be you who has to sit with your decision. But yeah, I would say stay at your job in the meantime and just balance them and save your money.
So I do completely agree with Regine. I definitely think you should evaluate your passion and make sure that it's 100% something you want to do. Because even if you were to have a job, if it's your passion, you're going to do it regardless. You're going to try to find some kind of way, even if you're not making as much money or you're not doing it as much, you're going to incorporate it into your life because it's your passion. It's something you really want to do. You'll make sacrifices for that passion. So up and leaving a job just because of that, I don't feel like it's the best option. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, unless it's physical or mentally just diminishing you as a person. So, one, you have more than likely you have bills. So you do have to think, am I going to be okay with this in the future? Is this something that I'm prepared to do and make sacrifices for? Or am I going to go through a breakdown or, not be able to get through it or push through? And then as far as people, like she said, I wouldn't trip off of them, because at the end of the day, people don't know your situation completely. They don't know every single detail of your life. They are not you. They're not living your life. They can't say what is right for you and what's not right for you. Physically or mentally, they could see something on the outside like, oh, you're doing fine with this job. Why would you want to leave? Why would you want to take some passion that you're not even sure of? But mentally, they don't see that you're diminishing as a person from a job that's tiring you, overworking you, you're not really excited about, so it doesn't make you want to wake up in the morning and go to work.
Definitely. Okay, so on to question number 3. I'm in a long distance relationship and I'm having trouble staying connected with my partner. I'm not sure how to keep the spark alive, and I feel like I'm running out of things to talk about.
So this one, personally, I haven't really been a big fan of long distance relationships, just because I don't feel like they're necessarily sustainable unless it's temporarily or a time limit on it. I think focusing on yourself 100%, having separate lives, not staying on the phone 24/7 is a big factor. You don't want to sit there on the phone and not have nothing to talk about, because you're not really doing anything outside of that. Of course you wouldn't have anything to talk about, You want to build things to talk about. Maybe go get a hobby, and then come back at the end of the day and talk to the person. Build goals for yourself so that you can keep pushing forward and you have something to speak on. A spark is not guaranteed all the time. You're not going to have this undying love all the time and that you guys are just going to be talking days in, days out. Even older people have run dry of words. You see them, they're just sitting there, they're not saying anything. They might be at a dinner table and they're just eating, not saying anything the whole time, but they feel comfortable with each other enough to be in the same presence. Right. So if you really do like this person and they like you as much, I think just existing around each other or being on the phone with each other, maybe, now it might sound a little bit funny, but just breathing on the phone with someone you really love, or like, is sometimes just enough. And so I wouldn't overthink it because that leads you nowhere. I wouldn't make everything about this relationship. Not everything is about being with a person because you're going to run into a million of different other people throughout your life. Everyone serves a purpose in your life, don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't just focus on, oh, I don't have enough to talk about, so our spark is leaving and this won't maintain. Just go with the flow.
So yeah, agreeing.
You focus on yourself. Good things kind
about
of
not
attract
being a big
you.
fan of
The
long
things you
distance
want attract you.
relationships. Because I feel like you have to have kind of like a goal or something you're looking forward to, such as they're going to be moving to your state or country, or you're going to be moving to their state or country, and you have that to look forward to. Because I think being in person with someone does contribute a lot to your connection. And if you're never seeing them or you're seeing them only twice a year, then it's kind of, you naturally won't feel as connected, because being in person does make a very big difference. So my opinion, I wouldn't be in a long distance relationship unless I knew like next year they're going to be living by me or I'm going to be living by them. So that's just my opinion on long distance relationships. But just to help this person out with staying connected, one way you can stay connected is with little apps kind of like Locket. If you guys don't have Locket, it's a widget on your phone and on the little home screen or whatever, and you just take little random pictures throughout the day, and you can just respond back with emojis or reply. So something simple like that, you'll feel connected, because you'll see, maybe it's not something that you would talk about on the phone because it's something mundane, but maybe it's just what they ate for lunch or whatever show they're watching, just something simple, and you can go on your home screen and see that. And it's just something, so that they were thinking about you enough to upload, unlock it. And then, like I said, it's not necessarily things that you would get on the phone and talk about. And then another way could be like having FaceTime movie night, so you don't feel compelled to be talking on the phone or always talking about your day. Especially the average person, your day-to-day life is kind of the same, so there's not too much that varies. But having a movie night, you won't be too worried about talking, because you'll be watching the movie and then you could talk about the movie afterwards. So that's something else. And like she was saying, you don't want to spend too much time talking to them. You don't want to be on the phone 24/7 or every hour. Like, you want to, I would say, schedule maybe a nightly phone call or every other night, honestly. Because if you're always talking to them, of course you're going to run out of things to talk about, because they already know everything because they're living through it with you. So definitely just once a day or every other day, or even just a good night text or something simple like that. Or if you don't want to talk on the phone that night, or if you feel like there was not much going on to talk about, you can just simply tell them like, hey, I'm gonna be going to bed early or whatever, yada yada yada. So, yeah, you don't have to always be on the phone. And then the last thing is just to know when it's time to call it quits. Because if you feel like you're doing everything to try to find random things to talk about, or you feel like they're not really responding to you, or you're working super hard and putting in a bunch of extra work, then you should know, or yeah, it's nice to know when it's time to call it quits, because sometimes it's more effort and not worth doing all the extraness. And you could just be friends that you check in with once in a while and not feel, because if you're in a relationship, you feel obligated to check in on them and everything, obviously with your friends too, but not as often. If it's just a friend that lives like on the other side of the country or whatever, you'll just, if you're going out there, you'll maybe plan something here or there. But I feel like when it's a relationship, you feel more inclined to be talking all the time. So, you can call it quits. You don't have to completely stop talking to the person, but they can just be your friend.
Thank you again for listening to Real Talk.
We hope you found our advice and opinions helpful.
Please keep in mind that we are not professionals and our advice is based solely on our personal experiences and perspectives.
So take our advice with a grain of salt and always consult with a professional when necessary.
New episodes are available every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m.
If you have any questions or scenarios you'd like to discuss with us, you can submit it through Spotify or email us at talktorealtalk@gmail.com.
You can specify if you would like us to post your situation to our Instagram at TalkToRealTalk to get opinions from other listeners in the comment.
And follow us there to stay up to date on our latest episodes and share with your friends so they can join the conversation too.
You can leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube with a pink and orange heart emoji for a chance to be featured on our Instagram as comment of the day.
Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Real Talk.
Goodbye.